Hey, not to start the show on a super down note, but I received some very critical feedback on the podcast.
Oh, no.
And I feel like it implicates the both of us, probably
Okay.
me more than you.
Okay.
So my spouse, who I love very much and is never wrong, has pointed out to me that the sound that we play when we do a swear is very jarring when you're in the car.
Okay.
Yeah. So the correct answer here is I just need to swear less. That's the real answer. I don't think you should have to change up your editing style, Paul. I really don't. I'm going to make a concerted effort to not swear as much. Although I was on a pretty good streak, you have to admit.
You did really good for like 10 episodes.
I did. And then, when I get comfortable with people, I tend to swear, probably more than I should.
It happens.
So I'm going to do a much better job of not swearing. But if it does happen, I don't want to tell you to change how you edit the show. I really don't, because I like the car horn. I think the car horn is a good sound effect. You know what, Paul? I really don't want to make you change anything. I really don't.
That is good feedback, though.
And she very helpfully pointed out that you don't swear and I do. So really, I'm the problem.
I think I did once. But I may have cut that whole part out, though.
Yeah, that's okay. As is your want. You are the editor. And we should be clear with the audience. I say we, you typically don't edit much. Like, the show is the show.
Yeah,
like, you
I
will
don't
cut
edit
out
much.
coughs and you will cut out the burps and the obvious goofs and gaffes. But
Yep.
I don't think either of us have specifically asked for anything to be cut from the show.
Nope.
It is what it is, and that's what you're here for.
I edit for quality, not content.
Very well said. I think that is just general good life advice. Hey, so how was your week?
It was good. For those of you who don't know, the company that I work for, we had a big IT outing out in the middle of the woods Tuesday night and Wednesday night. So I got back this morning. I'm a little tired, but I'm a little hoarse as well, if you can hear it in my voice. But it was a good time.
I wondered
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
I wondered about that because when we were planning out the show for this week, I asked, like, hey, this is a good idea, because then you're going to be pretty tired. But I'm glad you came to play, Paul. It's a sign of a true professional.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Anything? Can you talk about the trip? Did you have fun? Was there anything specific that you enjoyed? Can you give an overview of kind of how those outings work?
The first night was just a gigantic party. Lots of adult beverages. The second day for me was much more subdued. I mostly sat around and played board games, so that was nice. Yeah.
Who led the board game charge? Friend of the show, Zach?
Zach was there. There's a new guy who has quite the board game collection as well, so he had brought quite a few. Yeah, there was actually anywhere from like 4 to 12 people at any given time playing, so it was good.
Very good. Would you play anything new and exciting, or old classics?
You know what? I got to play Fog of Love again. We played Clank, some Hail Hydra, The Thing. Though I'm not sure he played The Thing correctly, but it was okay.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Well, good. I'm glad it was a good time. Okay, so I didn't, because I was so engrossed in work yesterday and today, because stuff is starting to get pretty real for me, I didn't have a super big time to prepare this week. So I did throw a couple things on our doc, pop the stack, if you will. I saw you already picked one topic out.
I picked one. It's the most
And
important question that everybody's dying to know about. And it's how we feel about the Apple event.
Yeah, so we're recording this on September 12th, and for those of you that don't travel in the Apple sphere, Apple had a big event on, what was it, Tuesday?
Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, it was Tuesday. It was their annual kind of pre-fall event where they typically debut mostly iPhones usually, mostly
Yes.
mobile devices, right? It's a big iPhone, watch, and iPad event, but there were a few other little surprises in there. And I didn't get to watch it live this year just because I was busy.
I didn't either. I watched it this afternoon.
You watched this afternoon. Okay. So there was a lot going on there, and if you peruse certain websites like, oh, I don't know, Reddit, everybody's kind of making fun of the new 3 camera thing. I feel like if you have to make fun of a phone for that, without really giving props to the technology, which from everything I've read looks pretty impressive. I don't see any specific camera. You know what? I'm getting too far down in the weeds here.
Yep.
So Paul, tee us up here. So tell us about the Apple event. Tell us kind of give us like the 3 juiciest headlines of the event, and then give us your personal spin.
Okay. So the 3 biggest things I think are, I'm going to cherry pick. Apple Arcade, which is Apple's subscription gaming service, is coming out next week. $5 a month. It's going to launch with like 100 games. I really feel this is Apple's ploy to get rid of all of the like predatory, pay to win, lots of in-app purchase games, and make iOS I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't think it's ever going to be a real gaming platform, but I think just try to make it better. Number 2 was the Apple Watch Series 5 with an always-on OLED display, which I know like Android's had that forever, but this is really big and new for us Apple nerds. And number 3 were new iPhones: the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which I agree with all of the people on the internet. Pro Max sounds like powders that bodybuilders take. I'm sorry, it's a bad name.
Yeah. Bit of a stumble on the name. I'll agree.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to be consistent, but yeah. So what of those things excited you the most, Drew?
Well, okay.
If anything.
Well, okay. If that's kind of just it. There was the things that I was really excited for and hoping for is I really wanted to see. The biggest rumor that I heard going into the event is that Apple was going to debut or at least announce the new 16-inch MacBooks.
Yeah, they've never, maybe once have announced a Mac at an iPhone event.
Right. So
those tend to be very separate. Yeah.
Yeah, my hopes weren't super high for it, but I was kind of really hoping. And as somebody who has a newer MacBook Pro, it's not like I'm going to run out and spend the probably $3,500 to $4,000 for the spec that I want of the 16-inch, and plus I probably have to buy a new backpack.
Right.
Because backpacks are basically sold in like 13, 15, and 17-inch sizes, right? Like there's not 16 inch is that weird space where like if you have a 17-inch sack, then you're probably you're probably going to have some room to spare, but will it fit in the 15-inch sacks? I mean, who knows? But that's kind of what I was really hoping to hear about at the event. So I know we've talked about my 2-phone lifestyle before. I was really excited to see the new phones because the last round of upgrades I did was for the iPhone XR, which is not the super expensive. I'm sorry,
right.
10R, right?
The 10R.
10R. And so at home right now, I have 2 phones. I have the 10R, which is my work phone, and that's got the LED display, not the super high, not the super good one that's on the Pro,
the
air
OLED.
quotes model, the OLED,
or
right?
the Super Retina, whatever they call it. Yeah,
right. And then I have the older iPhone 10, like the first edition iPhone 10.
That is what I have as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to log into AT&T and look, and I'm sure that my upgrade over the summer or my new line purchase or whatever probably reset the clock, but whatever. So I think I might be due, and I will probably get the new 11. But I gotta be honest, I really like using my 10R.
Do you? See,
I do.
I have myself, my son, and my wife are all ready for an upgrade, and we've been kind of waiting to see what's going to come out. I keep telling myself I don't need a 11 Pro. I'm a little concerned about the larger size of just the regular 11.
Yeah, it's slightly bigger. Like it's like a that's not quite a half inch bigger, I don't think, if you look at the specs.
Right.
And when I put my current iPhone 10 next to my 10R, they aren't the same size, which when I'm at lunch or at dinner or somewhere and I set my phones on top of each other makes a part of my brain hurt. But
Right.
But I got to be honest with you. The battery life, the display, the snappiness is all really good. Like the battery life especially, because like my iPhone 10, I wear the battery down pretty quick these days. A, because it's older.
Right.
And B, just because I use it so much. Now, granted, I'm not on my work phone browsing my weird subreddits on my work phone like I do on my personal phone. But I feel like I can go probably a week before I need to charge my work phone. And this thing buzzes and beeps every time I get a Teams message, every time I get an Outlook message. So like it's doing work. And there have been times where I have taken conference calls on Teams, walking around the house, or spoken to customers on the phone. So it gets used. And every time I need to authenticate, it is my multi-factor auth device. So like it is constantly on and off. It is constantly in and out of my hands. So I feel like it gets used, and the battery life is really, really good. I say all this in service of that when and if I decide to get the 11, I might gravitate to the non-Pro model. The only kind of kick in the junk here is I don't think you get the better camera.
Well, you get the regular and the ultra wide. You don't get, there's no telephoto.
Right.
That's really the big difference. Yeah, you don't get the 2x. For me, I don't think that would make a big difference for me. It's considerably cheaper. But you know what gets me? That new midnight green in the Pro. I like it.
You like that?
I like it a lot.
It. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's not for everybody, but
nope.
I think it's for me. If there is a feature that drives me to the Pro, it's going to be that color.
Hey, you know what? You have to do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, and I gotta be honest here. You have seen the case, and I use that term in the loosest possible sense that is on my work phone. The backs of the non-Pro models are not glass.
Right.
Which makes them harder to hold on to, but man, if they don't show smudges, they don't show the smudges that the traditional glass back Pro / older iPhone 10 models show. So there's something to be said there too. Like there's a lot of boxes that I'm ticking on the non-Pro model that are gonna get me to not probably upgrade. Like I definitely don't want to go back to big phone life because I had the 8 Max or the 8 Big phone, and that was too much. I definitely don't want that. Honestly, I want to go to a store. I want to play with that camera, and if I'm not wowed, I definitely won't get the Pro. And that's coming for somebody who likes to buy the big ticket expensive items, especially when it comes to Apple. Like I am there.
Yeah.
Like I'm a person who's seriously considering that $6,000 ridiculous display. Like I am. Like that's not a joke. Like I'm seriously considering getting it. And yes, I will buy the stand just as a giant middle fingers to everybody who says that display is dumb. So I like the idea of the 10 Pro or the 11 Pro. I like the idea of the 11 Pro. Like, is it going to be that much faster? Am I going to benefit that much from the extra speed?
Well, I don't think there is. Like, it's the same.
I thought it was a slightly different chip, if I remember this.
I think it's the exact same. The exact same chip. Well, hold on, we can find out. Really, I think there's a way to.
I'm sure there's some news aggregator site that'll break it down for me.
I even think. Hold on, take a quick tour. No, it's the same processor. I have heard the Pro does have more RAM, but I don't think performance is going to be that different between them. Like with the 10R and the 10XS or 10S, they have the same processor as well.
Okay,
it's a lot of the same features. It's just you get a much nicer screen in that third camera.
Well, okay,
the
so
Pro.
so hold on a second. Are we?
And apparently now more battery life. So yeah.
Wait a second. No, hold on. You said more battery life in the non-pro, right?
No, the this time around the pros have really upped their game.
But how are they measuring battery life? By size of the battery or projected life? Because I'm telling you, man, that non-pro display, like the display is what totally saps that usage. Like that and cellular usage, right?
Well,
so for me, when I'm at the house on Wi-Fi, I'm telling you, man, that non-retina whatever display, whatever the hell it's called, doesn't use the battery. It just doesn't. And I don't know, man. It's gonna be hard pressed for me to go to the Pro if I go.
Here we go. I'm gonna. So chip. Yep. They all have the A13 Bionic. And hold on. I found the. I'll put this in the show notes if I can find the battery section. Power and battery. Okay. Let's see. So let's compare video playback. Okay. It is 17 hours on the iPhone 11, 18 hours on the 11 Pro, and 20 hours on the Pro Max.
So now, the Pro Max I get, right? Because you can cram a bigger battery into those empty spaces,
now,
which I think has always been the case.
What I have heard is that the rumor is the space saved by removing like the 3D touch has gone to battery. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I need to see them both in stores. I'm sure when it finally comes down to it, for my personal device, I will probably do the Pro. Probably.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, the 11's a little bit bigger than the 11 Pro, and I really like the size of the 11 Pro, but is it really worth $200 more?
If the price difference is only $200, then hold on a second.
It's $300. It's $300.
It's $300 for the cheapest size, right? Or is it $300 scaled linearly?
Oh, let's see, because I usually get the middle size. So crap. Everything's view pricing. Everything's kind of hard because like the website's not turned on because you can't actually buy them yet.
I'm sure there's some aggregator.
Yeah, I didn't come prepared. Yeah,
I didn't either. I never come prepared.
So the 256, which is the middle Pro, is $1149, and the middle sized, which is 128. Well, if we compare apples to apples, the 256 and both, it is $849 for the 11 and $1149 for the 11 Pro. Wow, that is really hard to say.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's about a $300 difference across the board.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, do you do the whole subsidize your phone thing?
I'm pretty much at the point where like I lease, right? I pay per month. I can once I pay through half of it, I can trade it in for a new one, or I can continue to pay. And I was like new phone every year guy, but I was really happy with the 10. I've kept it a couple of years, and honestly,
same.
in a pinch, I think the battery's doing pretty good. I probably could go another year, but I think Daddy wants a new phone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting there too, because my phone gets weird. My phone has some quirks to it, and that's just a kind of a daily use. Weird things happen to my phones type scenario. Yeah, I do the same thing. So I have AT&T, and they let you do that thing where you lease the phone, right? It's kind of like a phone layaway scam.
Yep.
And here's the thing: if it comes down to, well, you can get the 11 for, I don't know, whatever it is, $26, $27 a month, and I can get the Pro for $32 a month, I'm probably right.
Yeah.
When you amortize it out across that, or whatever that word is, I think that's what'll probably get me, because I'll just see it as a smaller line or a slightly bigger line item on my monthly bill.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I've got time, right? They don't launch for a few more weeks.
Well, the pre-sales start tomorrow morning
At midnight, right?
It'll be 8 o'clock
It'll be
in the
3 a.m.
morning. 8
Oh,
o'clock in the
8
no,
o'clock in
wait,
the morning.
because no, it's 5 a.m. Pacific time, which is 8
a.m.
Yep, 8 in the one true time zone. Yep. I'm probably not going to order mine right away. Like, I got to figure if my wife wants a phone and my son wants a phone, and I'll probably just do that all together.
Yeah.
AT&T's website
again,
is not a good experience, so I'd rather just do that all at
No.
once
Yeah.
than 3 separate
it's-
times.
Boy, it's something.
Yeah.
I really want to go to the store. I really want to see the differences. I do want to see the green. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but it just looks a little too washed out for me.
I know, I like it. I'm even considering getting a clear case just to highlight it. Yeah, it does it for me.
Hey man, I'm not here to yuck your yum.
Yeah.
Whatever you like what you like.
Hey, I used to be a gold phone guy, so at least I'm not doing that anymore.
I did the gold phone 1 year, and then I did white. Now I'm back to space gray and black, if I can help it. Matter of fact, I actually ditched my leather case because it was starting to get pretty nasty.
Yeah,
And I went to the black silicone case, and boy, that's a good feeling little boy. I like that.
yeah, I'm still rocking the 2-year-old Apple leather case, and it's got some damage.
Yeah, it was a trooper. Let's see. So, in addition to the phones, there was the new announcement of the new Series Watch. As somebody who still has a Series 3, I'm probably, if I buy anything right away, it'll probably be the new watch. I think that not only am I due for an upgrade, I really like the new bands and the new styles and the new features of this. So I am all on board for the new Series Watch. You know, it's one of those things where I could talk about the differences in the upgrades in the watch, but the bottom line is there's new faces, there's new features, there's new bands, and that's really all it takes to get me to get that. The one I'm really scratching my head about here, Paul, is that Apple seems like it's getting in on the services business.
Hard. Yep.
Yeah. So it looks like they're debuting Apple Arcade, which is a subscription that lets you play a bunch of games, either on your phone, iPad, or Apple TV.
And Mac.
And it also looks like they are, and that one I kind of understand because games are such a large part of the iOS kind of ecosystem.
And like they're mostly garbage. They're a lot of free to play, lots of in-app purchase. I think this is Apple really trying to put a line in the sand and saying, well, instead of buying, gems every couple of weeks, just give us $5 a month and we'll give you good games to play.
Now,
Yeah,
I had heard as well that Apple was basically funding certain developers to make games for this.
From what I understand, all of the games that are coming out, basically Apple has paid for the development of. So they're basically acting like a publisher in this case.
Right. And I haven't heard any of the specifics around like if Apple gets a cut or if Apple's just trying to kind of stimulate better non-scummy game development.
Yeah. It's hard to tell.
But
How much revenue is guaranteed to the game developers versus how much they have to get per play? Like, who knows?
Mm-hmm. Right. The one that I'm a little more leery on is they're now doing some sort of Apple's Originals TV channel, which
Apple TV
looks like
Plus.
it's inspired from like the Netflix Originals thing, right?
Yeah. From what I've heard, and if you're into this kind of stuff, I recommend the podcast Upstream on the Relay FM. They do a weekly segment called the podcast is called Upgrade. They do a segment called Upstream where they talk about streaming media stuff. Apparently Apple has spent like $1 billion on original content. So, and they've hired lots of executives from other studios and other streaming companies, and they're making a big play into original television shows. But like they're only doing original shows. Like there is no back catalog.
Right.
It is just the shows they have made. Yeah.
It's no back catalog. You don't get, like I could totally see paying probably at least what I would pay for Netflix if you gave me access to everything you have on iTunes. Like maybe rotate certain movies that you could buy on there. But like there was really no show outside of Snoopy in Space that I really cared about on that list.
Okay, that's going to be a topic for another time. All right, Snoopy in Space. Okay, that's...
Yeah, I saw a thing that said Snoopy in Space.
on like what they said, you buy a new Apple device, you get a year for free. So like,
Everybody's going to try it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, I really didn't get excited about, being an HBO subscriber until Game of Thrones came out. And that was the must-see show. Like, if there's something out there that's just like, if this C show, which it's the worst name of a television show in the history. It's SEE. The gimmick is, I don't know, everybody's blind. It's a kind of a popular apocalyptic show. If that's really good and everyone's talking about it, then yeah, I'll watch it. But they have that problem too, right? No one's going, without a back catalog, nobody is going to pay for it unless there's a good show, and no one's going to know if it's a good show if no one's watching it. So they have to give out some initial set of free subscriptions basically to get people excited about it.
Yeah, I was really left scratching my head. I mean, if the shows are good and they get good buzz, I'll try it.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I wasn't really left too excited about that. And then finally, the other thing they talked about was iPads. I haven't really used my iPad in many.
Yeah, this iPad's not for me. I do enjoy my iPad, but for entry level, it's the new entry level iPhone, entry level iPad. Woo! As far as iPad goes, it's a good value for the money, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to run out and get an iPad. Let's just put it that way. Let's see. That was kind of the gist of the Apple event. I'm excited for 50% of the things they showed off. So I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I'm not due for a new watch. I still have my Series 4. I really like the new big screen. So going from a 3 to the 5, that'll be a big part. The screen is so much better.
I have these little tiny wrists, so I probably won't get the bigger watch face though.
That's okay. Basically it's less margins, right? You don't have, or the bezels,
right? Edge, true edge to edge, less bezel, and and I think it's always been Retina, right? Every display has been Retina on.
Yeah,
hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it's always been OLED. Yeah,
yeah.
But the always on, I'm ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's our Apple talk for the week. So, if you have thoughts, let us know. You know how to get in touch with us. But I'm excited, and I don't know if the phones are showing up in the stores yet. Are they?
I don't know.
To play with?
They usually don't until they're actually shipping and available for purchase. So that probably won't be until next week.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll check it out.
That green.
Okay. It sounds like you're already sold to me. It sounds like you will be getting a Pro.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Ask me again next week.
Well, let's keep the Mac train moving here a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop the stack here, as they say.
Okay.
And one of the topics that we threw on last week that got cut from our discussion was how we consume the internet.
Yes.
So the internet is massive. There are lots of different things to do and see on it. And we have our different workflows and tools that we use to ingest, save, and share stuff with our friends and family and coworkers. So you put this topic on the list, and you have quite the list of applications. It's not a big list, but it's a good list of applications that you use in your daily life to kind of basically consume the internet. So why don't you hit me with your list here and how you use them?
Okay, so I have multiple ways of ingesting the internet, and I kind of use them for different purposes mostly. I am still a big RSS feed guy. I probably have, probably 150 subscriptions. Let me log in and look. Yeah, I probably have about 150 different websites that I subscribe to their RSS feeds. And if you're not sure what that is, it's a format where you can, instead of having to go to the website every day to see if there's new content, there's basically a subscription. You use an RSS reader to kind of aggregate all that stuff. Much like most of the internet, I was a big Google Reader fan back in the day. when that went belly up, I have switched to a company called NewsBlur for my RSS feeder. It is a web-based. There are apps for it, but it's primarily web-based. It has lots of features about like training it to learn what you like. I don't use it. I just basically just run through my feed. I also read a lot of things on Twitter. I subscribe to a few. I'm not one of those people that, like, when you subscribe to somebody on Twitter, like, I don't know, a journalist or a comedian, and they tweet about baseball, you're like, stay on brand. I followed you for your journalism. Like, I mean, Twitter is, you're following the person, the whole person. So I don't get a lot of news from there, but I do get a lot of enjoyment. I do not like the default Twitter application one bit. It is garbage. It is gross. I refuse to use it. I use an application called Twitterrific. It is one of the original third-party Twitter clients. In fact, the whole like bird theme and like retweets was invented by the developers of Twitterrific, and Twitter just kind of stole it. I like it. It is a chronological timeline. There's no algorithm. There's no, I think you should see these posts. It's just literally everything in order. I am a Twitter completionist. I do try to read every tweet, except like in this case where I was like out in the woods for 3 days. I did what I like to call declaring Twitter bankruptcy and just scrolling to the top. I'm also a big fan of Reddit. I subscribe to some personal feeds and also some news feeds. I am not an animal. There's a third-party Reddit client on iOS called Apollo. I like it quite a bit. I really can't tell you why. I just think it fits my brain better than the default Reddit client. And then I have a couple other websites that I use as kind of supporting. The first one is a website called Instapaper, and it was like the original read it later kind of service. And what the notion is like, if I see something on my RSS feed or on Reddit or on Twitter that I want to, like, ooh, that is interesting, but like I only have like 30 seconds right now, I will send that article to Instapaper, and then Instapaper will just basically have a queue of all of these articles. It strips out any ads, any HTML, just gives you a nice like black text on a white background, a very simple, easy reading. It's like reading a newspaper. It's like reading it on paper, hence the name. So as I'm kind of like letting my RSS feeds just wash over me, if like, ooh, that looks interesting, I just throw it into Instapaper. And then I use a service called Pinboard. It was you remember the old bookmarking service called Delicious?
I remember it. I never used it.
Yeah, so it was originally a Delicious clone, but Delicious died and Pinboard is still alive. And it's just a very simple online bookmarking stuff. Instead of using like my browser bookmarks, I throw them all in there. I can tag them. I can search them. So that's kind of like my long-term internet memory. So that's kind of how I approach the internet. It's a lot, I know. Now, how about you, Drew?
Yeah, so I don't have quite the collection of apps that I use to help me consume the internet. So typically, like, my day is spent in a lot of web browsers and terminals. So for me, I just want to get this out of the way. I don't use any third-party Twitter stuff. And I know that, Twitter people will kind of look down on you for that. And I have tried it multiple times throughout my Twitter lifetime to try to use a different app. And for whatever reason, like Twitterrific, right? You mentioned that. And I know that I had asked you in the past for recommendations of Twitterrific or of Twitter clients, and you'd recommended Twitterrific. So, I had an iTunes gift card burning a hole in my pocket. I bought it. But, like, I don't like its auto-refresh schedule. Like, it just doesn't auto-refresh fast enough for me. I don't know. Like,
It used
I just
to,
don't...
but then Twitter turned that off. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but see, that's the thing. Like, Twitter hates third-party developers. So, like,
They do.
I'm with you. Like, the default Twitter app for your phone is not great, but it just gets the job done. Like, I can open it, I can surf it, I can see what's going on right now. I'm very quick to declare Twitter bankruptcy, to where, like, if I'm off of it for a few days or a few hours even, I just like, well, nothing happened before this time, so I just sort of start where I start. And, you know, it works fine for me. Like, I do most of my tweeting and consuming of Twitter in the default web client. I don't use what's the more popular, like TweetDeck. Everybody's super big on TweetDeck, and
Yep.
you know, do you? I just have one Twitter account. I don't have any lists. I don't put people on lists. I follow people. I subscribe to the rule that, you know, you should follow less people than you have followers. Like, that is a
I break that
that is
rule
a
a lot.
yeah, that is a bit that gets flipped. I try to do that. Like, I don't follow everybody. And I know there are people that listen to this podcast, maybe I don't follow you, and, like, that's not personal. I have a list of people that I follow because either A, they're really funny and I like them as people, or B, they tweet technical stuff that I really care about. And sometimes, you know, there are certain people that fill in the middle of that Venn diagram too, right? Like you. And, you know, like, I think I have, this isn't a weird, like, I'm not trying to flex. I think I have somewhere of upwards of, what is it, like 13 or 1,400 followers now. I don't even know. Give me a Twitter account, Paul.
Oh, geez. You're gonna make me go to the website.
I have at this minute 1,456 followers.
Yeah.
But I only follow 317 people. Because here's the thing, a lot of the people I follow are really important people that aren't just going to follow you back. Like,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
you know, like, if I follow, I don't know, the governor of Ohio, for instance. Like, the governor of Ohio is not going to follow me back. Right?
Right.
So,
right.
you know, I follow the people that give me information. And much like you, I don't subscribe to Twitter for the news. I don't subscribe to the Twitters for things like politics. I like Twitter for the funny. Like, I'm there for the funny tweets. I'm there for the pictures of dogs. I'm there for the memes that show up on Twitter.
Yep.
And I these days tweet equal parts nonsense and occasionally some technical stuff. And you know what? The people that follow me seem to appreciate that. And, you know, that's why they follow me. And that's why I follow the people that I follow.
See, I do follow some mostly Apple journalists, but I don't necessarily follow them for the news. I follow them because they have strong personalities and a good Twitter presence. You know, they're not just talking about Apple stuff. It's their whole life. They're, you know, like I said before, like, you're following the whole person on Twitter, not just, you know, their brand or their job. And that's one of the things I like about it. It's, you know, it's the funny tweets. It's the, you know, catching an interaction with somebody else when they tweet at somebody that you also follow. It's the people they follow and what they think is clever and witty, and they retweet. Yep.
Right. And that's what I'm there for, and that's what I try to perpetrate. I want you to laugh at my Twitter every once in a while. Like,
Exactly.
I consider myself equal parts educational and funny. I consider myself to be a funny person. Sorry. But I will tweet funny stuff. So, I don't know. So, anyway, that's a really long way to say that the Twitter website is where I do most of my time. I just mostly tweet through that, just because I can have it open. I have a browser open like at almost at any time during the day. And, like, I'm one of those people that will open tabs when I'm searching for something. And, like, at the end of the day, like, when I go through and start closing everything down, like, I'll find that I have, like, Twitter open on 6 tabs. I don't know. It's weird. So that's how I mostly do Twitter. Now, as far as other stuff, you mentioned it. I'm also a big Reddit browser. I really, really enjoy Reddit. I subscribe to equal parts cute and adorable subreddits and some really, really dark places and some really, really weird places on Reddit. For instance, one of my favorite subreddits right now is birds aren't real. So birds aren't real. For those of you that don't follow it, it is a subreddit that caters to people who think that birds are just sophisticated drones meant to spy on us. And half the people in there subscribe to that theory, and the rest are just there to troll the people that believe. So it's a fascinating subreddit. I recommend just kind of browsing it, see what you think. But there's a lot of other good subreddits.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Are you in it?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's just what I'm looking at is I imagine there's sound, but I don't know what it is. The video starts with the person actually holding what appears to be a real life bird. Then the camera cuts, and it is clearly toothpick shoved in an avocado. And he puts it down, and he opens it in two, and there's like wires and a bolt and a battery. But it's not even like a good cut. It's just like it's a bird avocado. Oh, I could watch this all day.
Yeah. So anyway, if you're interested, you know what we need to do. Here's a show topic idea, not for tonight. Our top 5 favorite subreddits.
Okay.
No holds barred, no judging. Bring your favorite top 5 subreddits to the show.
All right. I'm putting that on.
Book
putting
it.
that on the list.
Yeah, put that in the notes. Yeah, we'll put that in for next show. Okay. So to consume Reddit, I never ever look at it in a web browser because they have foisted that really terrible like 2008 Web 2.0 interface on us. I'm sure somebody thinks that's a good idea, but I am a person that if you have a design that works, like I think that form should follow function, and the old Reddit experience was just perfectly fine. It was a list of links that you clicked on to get into a comment thread. Like, that was perfect. Like, take, for instance, one of my favorite websites that I look at. One of the first things I do in the morning when I fire up my computer is I fire up Hacker News. Hacker News has not changed, I think, ever.
No.
To my knowledge. And it works. Like, here are the headlines on Hacker News, and you click on it and you read it. I don't know why Reddit feels the need to give you that really crappy web experience, but there they are. I mean, somebody got a hold of a I don't know, what do you think that is? Like React?
Oh. That's a good question.
Somebody got a hold of some JavaScript framework thing and said we can make something cool, and they made a thing.
Yeah, they certainly did.
I like that I can opt out of the new design, but I don't know.
A lot of people that I know work with the opt out, and man, I just feel it's a ticking time bomb. Like, it's gonna go away.
They will make it go away. But that is a long way to say that mostly when I'm browsing Reddit, I'm browsing on my phone because Reddit is a distraction for me. So if I'm sitting at my desk working and I need a 5-minute funny break, I will fire because I don't use the web browser. Like, I'm logged in on Apollo, and I look at the subreddits that I look at, and I get back to work. Or if I'm laying in bed, or I'm at a stoplight, or just when I need a 2 quick minute hit of the internet, that's where I go. Yeah, I'm a big Reddit person. Again, I use the Apollo client. I use it just because I got a free icon for it because I subscribed to another podcast that gave me a secret code, so I felt special. The default, much like the default Twitter app, the default Reddit app, and a lot of their kind are kind of garbage. But here's what I don't get, Paul. I feel like Apollo keeps track of what you browse and kind of just helps gravitate certain subreddit posts to the top of your default feed.
I'm a relatively recent, big Reddit user. Like, maybe in the last 6 to 8 months, I've really embraced it and enjoyed it. And I think it was really the Apollo app that got me hooked. I was always trying to use the website or the official, mobile client, and it never just really clicked for me. Even though I found some subreddits that I liked and I subscribed. It was really, I believe it was, you might have even got me onto it in the first place, or another one of our mutual friends. And I gave it a try. And yeah, I really can't tell you what's better about it. It's just better. I got hooked. I am a Reddit user because of Apollo.
Yeah, I really like Apollo. I really do. And like if you're not a Reddit user, you can sort the posts either at the main Reddit site, which is like a list of all your subreddits posts put together, or you can drill down into a certain subreddit and you could sort by, what is hot, like what are people talking about, what are people commenting on, what is, you could sort by new if you're kind of brave. But I swear there's some kind of smart technology under the hood for Apollo that, to my knowledge, isn't a setting that you can tweak. Because I always find that the 3 subreddits that I visit the most, and I'm not going to tell you what those are, have those posts constantly at the top of my feed in Apollo. I think there is something to that. I can't prove it. But I think that as far as mobile clients go, Apollo is the best. I don't know if they have an Android version of their app. It might be iOS only.
I think it is iOS only.
Yeah, so suck it. I think it's probably the best Reddit app you can get. And then, I have never been a big like Instapaper or Pinboard person. My kind of note-taking applications is I gravitate between 2 of them. I use Bear on Mac to keep track of my personal life stuff, like stuff maybe for this podcast or stuff that I'm working on for speaking outside of my daily job. Or I use Bear for all of that. If I need to make a note, I throw it in Bear. And what's going to sound pretty corporate shill of me is I use OneNote a lot now. Just because...
Okay. Yep.
Because I work at a place that makes software called OneNote, there's a little bit of that, I'm not going to lie. But after seeing SharePoint done right and seeing a lot of different apps done right in the Microsoft ecosystem, OneNote kind of makes all of that kind of work. I can save clippings from websites or emails or presentations or Teams conversations into OneNote and easily share them with teammates. The fact that it's all synced to my OneDrive makes it pretty easy. So I'm a big OneNote user now. I was never a OneNote user like 3 years ago. The OneNote client for Mac is actually pretty good. It's very, very cloudy like right now. Like the old OneNote thick client for the desktop app I never liked. It hurts my brain a little bit that you could just kind of click anywhere and start typing, and it's like, well, here, I'll just put a text box there. Like that. No, I don't show up for that. I show up for the integration with a lot of modern Office 365 apps and modern Microsoft web applications that I use frequently now. So I'm a big OneNote user, so I do read a lot of open source blogs these days, and I read a lot of internal blogs and other things, and I just kind of save everything I want to read into my OneNote into kind of my to-do list. So I use OneNote for a lot of things now.
Now, back when I was, a big overpriced consultant, back before, I got back onto the Mac train, when OneNote first came out, I loved it. Loved it. It was amazing. I like to be able to, like, the spatialness of having the notes, the tabs and the pages. I loved it completely. But when I personally made the switch back to Mac full time, there was no OneNote client or even a website at that time for OneNote. So I've switched to Evernote, and Evernote it's multi-platform, it syncs, it's fine. I pay too much for it every year. I've tried to export the stuff out of Evernote into a format that didn't make me want to puke and import that into OneNote. It just doesn't work well, and I think they do that on purpose. Because they really don't want you leaving. So I'm kind of like, Evernote is where so many of my personal and my work notes are in, and I just can't. It's like an albatross around my neck. It's just a burden. I can't quit you, Evernote, even though I want to.
I used to use Evernote. I got out of that. I was using Evernote back when I was a primarily Windows user, just because I thought that it was a little simpler and a little cleaner than the OneNote desktop client. I will say this, is that there are people that have been using OneNote forever that hate the new version of OneNote, and for good reason. Like, for instance, you may have legacy OneNote notebooks that you can't just like drag and drop into the new version of OneNote. like old backups of things. Like you can't do that. Like you have to go install the thick client and then like import that into your notebook that you sync to OneNote or to OneDrive, and then like it shows up, and then you can uninstall the thick client. Like I had to do that for some stuff that I was working on for some old legacy notebooks that we have. But I don't know. I like the new less cluttery presentation, especially on the Mac, and it has dark theme support now, which is cool. So
Yeah.
it's worth a look if you haven't looked in a while. I'll just say that.
Yeah, maybe I need to do my like every couple of year search for a good blog post about how to get out of Evernote and into OneNote in a way that, doesn't stink or lose. I think the last time I tried it, like any files I had in there wouldn't come over, and it lost a lot of the formatting. And there's got to be like I would pay good money for an app that converted it for me. Like I'm ready to go. I pay too much.
Well, you have to think that the Evernote people aren't dumb.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to be able to get all your stuff out of there, because that's how they keep you.
Exactly.
So I get it. Like there's probably no incentive to let you get out. You're in, and now you're in for a penny, in for a pound. Like you're not going to be able to get your stuff out. Like you might be able to like extract your text, but your other stuff, I mean, good luck, right?
Yeah. Well, here's something. Here's an article from Microsoft about how to do this.
Oh, how clever.
Now, Nav. See, okay. What? Ooh. Oh, here we go. Microsoft has released a piece of software called the Importer that will do this.
Aptly named.
Yeah.
Aptly named.
I think I know what I'm doing this weekend.
You found something to do tomorrow and Friday, didn't you?
Oh, I sure did. I can be free.
Yeah, and I know that. Do you use OneNote at work now? Like, do you have like a OneNote or not a OneNote? OneDrive. Do you have a OneDrive for work now? Corporate OneDrive.
Mostly, it's just my interaction with OneDrive is just through Teams and people sharing files through there.
Got it.
I was a big Google Drop. Oh, I started out using Dropbox, and I was out before Dropbox got creepy. I did use Google Drive for quite a bit, but honestly, for me, like iCloud Drive has the minimum amount of features that I really need, which is really just making some files that I need available on my phone or my iPad. So that's mostly what I use for that kind of stuff. I have other solutions we talked before for backups, so I really don't need to put a lot of stuff in there.
Well, I'm just going to forewarn you now. So with the new non-thick client desktop OneNote experience, like the OneNote you're going to install as part of Office 365 for Mac, you're probably going to want to make sure that you have a OneDrive connection set up.
Okay.
Right? You're going to want to sync that to the cloud. It has really good integration with OneDrive. I think you can use it without OneDrive, but why would you want to do that?
Okay.
Let me take that back. You can save it locally, but why would you want to do that? I don't know, and I feel like I should know. I think you can sync it somewhere on your computer that it will sync to another cloud thing. But I think if you have a OneDrive client installed, there's some extra special sauce that goes like between those services.
Okay.
So think about it. I check it out. I mean, obviously, I'm an Office 365 subscriber at work and at home. If you need hooked up with a subscription, we could talk. Anyway. Yeah, that's how we consume and save and use the internet. Any other ones you want to mention?
I don't think so. I think that's the majority of what I use.
Yeah, cool. We're almost at our hour, but there's one other topic I want to put on the dock for tonight. And it's something that I actually binged over the past week. I have been watching Mindhunter on Netflix.
Okay.
Have you watched it?
I have not.
All right, make a note to watch it.
Okay.
Season 2 just launched, and this is another show that people have been telling me to watch that I was way late to the game to, and I just finished Season 2, and it is phenomenal, Paul.
Okay. Now what is it about?
It is dark. It is very dark. So the gist of the show is it talks about the evolution of the FBI's behavioral science unit. So the behavioral science unit was formed in the late 70s at the FBI. And I think this show, if I understand it correctly, is loosely based on a book that details the history of the Behavioral Science Unit. I don't think the characters in the show are real. They may be. I haven't really looked at the wiki for this show yet because I wanted to finish watching the whole show, which I just finished this afternoon. And the characters themselves I don't think are real, but it does blend into events that the FBI helps solve through behavioral science. So behavioral science is basically trying to get in the mind of people who may commit crimes. It's very Orwellian kind of precognition type things. Like if you know that somebody has certain tendencies or was raised a certain way or has certain proclivities to, like hurting animals or something, like that person is maybe more predisposed to commit horrific crimes in the future. And like this is the group, I believe, that coined the term serial killer. So the gist of the show in season 1 is there is a guy who wants to start to apply behavioral science to help catch violent criminals. And they do that by going and interviewing people who have been convicted of like multiple murders or really heinous crimes. And it is very Silence of the Lambs-y, because in Silence of the Lambs, that wasn't a particularly jump scary type movie. I mean, there were parts that were tense and everything, right? Like towards the end there, where she's in the dark and everything. I don't think I need to give a spoiler alert for Silence of the Lambs, but whatever. But this show is very, very dark because you go to some weird places in the show. And I'm not just talking about the conversations that they have with the serial killers, because obviously hearing very gruesome details about how these people did the things that they did is unnerving, but there's other subtle things that happen to the characters in the show that are very, very hard to watch.
Okay.
And it is shot and directed in such a brilliant way. The writing is very good. The music in the show is very period piece, so you get a lot of late 70s, early 80s like rock and pop and stuff. So it's got a really good soundtrack. And season 1, they show flashbacks throughout the show that you're not really sure, or not flashbacks, that they show these cuts at the beginning of the show that kind of show you a person slowly becoming a killer, or maybe someone that is already a killer, and you kind of see how this person is evolving.
Okay.
As it relates to things that they discuss in the show. And what's really interesting is that towards the end of season 1 and then all of season 2, you get these characters thrown into real life events. So like they show a scene where they interview Charles Manson, and the guy that plays Manson is brilliant. They show how the FBI got involved in the early 80s Atlanta child murders, which, again, is a fascinating Wikipedia article. And the guy that they get as the suspect for that, again, brilliantly cast, brilliantly played. And then the one that they keep sort of teasing you with is the BTK killer, which don't Google that.
Okay.
Just trust me, it's really, really dark. It's really, really dark stuff. It is a very, very good show. It doesn't really have anybody in it that you're going to recognize. These are all people that at least I've never seen in anything else before. And they do put some real historical figures in the show. Like, obviously, they put in Charles Manson, and they put in a few other people like Son of Sam.
Okay.
And they put in like FBI directors that were in positions that they're in when all this is going on. But again, I very, very much recommend this show. I binged it pretty quickly. So if you get a chance to go watch it, do so. It is on Netflix. You have to be a Netflix subscriber. It is a Netflix original, which I typically don't go for Netflix original shows. And again, I do have a proclivity towards kind of real life crime drama stuff. I mean, that's why I love The Wire so much. So this definitely gets my stamp of approval. I highly recommend you go watch it. If this type of like deep psychological thriller gets you, it is definitely worth a watch. And the stuff that happens in the personal lives of the people in the show is just as intense and fascinating as when they're interviewing the serial killers. So again, really, really highly recommend. I think you should check it out.
I'm putting it on the list.
Yep. Wow. Okay. Wow. It's amazing how fast these episodes go by.
They whiz by.
I'm good where I'm at. So Paul, what do you say we cap this one off? We tell people where they can find us.
Yeah. So as always, you can find the podcast at doingtheirbest.com or doingbestpod on Twitter. You can find me at Paul Baylor. That's Bahler. And where can they find you, Drew?
They can find us. They can find me at Pittsburgh on the Twitters. I think I teased last episode that I was working on a blog post that didn't get finished this week because I got waylaid with actual work, but that blog post is coming on my home lab stuff. So if you're
Awesome.
if you follow me on the Twitters or you follow the website, you'll probably see that posted probably Monday, I think. I think I'm going to work on it some more this weekend. I have a challenge for our listeners.
Ooh.
Here's what I want. I want somebody to record an opening for the show. I want not necessarily, it could be whatever you think. It could be just be somebody saying, "Welcome to Doing Their Best," hosted by Paul Baylor and Drew Ferguel. Mangle my last name for comedic effect. I don't care. I want somebody, if you're listening to this right now, I want somebody to put in some thought and some effort to writing an intro. It can be a straight intro. It could be a funny intro. It could be a musical intro. I want to see what our audience is capable of, all like 48 of them, or whoever's listening. I don't know. What are we up to now, by the way? We haven't done a listener count in a while.
Oh, geez. I really haven't looked. Hold on. Well, I knew we have more people listening on Spotify than before.
Interesting.
I mean, not a lot, but I mean, there's a few of them. Hold on.
I have theories about that.
Okay, hold on. I got to do some math.
All right.
Okay.
Math is happening.
Okay, so
Insert math sound effect here.
it's hard because I know a lot of people are behind, so I'm kind of just trying to guess. I'm guessing we have close to 60 listeners.
All right.
If you do,
That's good.
Hold on, 6.
It's trending up.
All of our episodes combined have been downloaded 732 times.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Now, that's across all platforms, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people are listening on Spotify just because I think so many people are Spotify users because they listen to Spotify all day at work. They probably just, I'm already in Spotify. I might as well fire this up. I'll admit that I am a general just bone stock iOS iTunes user for podcasts, the podcast app. I don't use Overcast. I have Overcast installed, but I don't know. I don't remember using it.
So one thing to know, for those of you who do use Spotify mangles the show notes, them, eats them for breakfast. If you use Apple Podcasts or Overcast or probably any podcast player that's not Spotify, you'll probably have a much better experience for all of your podcasts, unless people are doing something that I don't know what to do to make the show notes look good. But
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad in Spotify.
It's bad.
You honestly, probably the best way to get the show notes is just to go to the website.
That's true. Doingtheirbest.com.
That would be my advice. If you haven't looked at the Doing Their Best website, do so. That's where we post all our show notes. So if you hear us talk about a topic and you want to link to it to learn more, that's where you'll find it. I mean, you will find it in the other notes, but I don't know. It's all written in Markdown, and it's easy and it's stupid. But go read it.
And you can send your intros via email to contact@doingtheirbest.com.
Yeah, and we'll review them. Typically, what we'll do, here's an idea. So, listen, you have a device probably sitting on your desk or in your pocket that has a microphone and a voice recorder. Just do it. Doesn't have to be professional. I say we. Paul will do his best to clean it up to make the audio format decent, and we'll listen to them. And we will put one at the beginning of the show, and maybe we'll sample a bunch until we find one we like, and then you listener, you dear bestie listener, could be the intro for our budding podcast. If that sounds exciting to you, or you just want to make us laugh, send them in. We will review them.
I love it.
That is my challenge. That is the challenge I have this week for the listeners.
All right,
man, that's good.
That's a good idea. I love it.
It's
Can't wait to hear it.
All right. Well, on behalf of the both of us, it's been a pleasure, Paul, and we will talk to everybody next week.
Toodles.